Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Master RKO, and today we are bringing you an iRacing Street Stock C-Class Series race from Martinsville. This is a pre-recorded race. I did this earlier today, and unfortunately the audio got muted for some odd reason for my microphone. So I am actually recording this audio after the race has been over, so actually I can just skip through here through the movie maker, I guess, or whatever, and go ahead and give you guys just kind of an insight on the way things go, and talk to you guys without interrupting the driving or anything like that. I did plan on doing this a little more, doing it while I was driving. Unfortunately, that's not how it ended up. If you would like videos to where it's more of me while I'm driving, we can definitely do that. Or if you would prefer me to kind of skip through things and talk over it, I can also do that as well. Leave in the comments which you guys would prefer. The next video that I do for racing will definitely be more on that side. While I'm thinking about it, I'm actually going to pop out of full screen real quick and just turn up the audio on that.
Get ready, going green.
Just so you guys can hear it a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't even end up being too loud for you guys. However, it sounded alright beforehand, so we'll see how it goes from here. However, this was the start of the race. This was a C-Class race. This was one of the more put together races because it's outside of the rookie class. So for those of you who are a little less informed about what iRacing is, or for some of you who are looking to get into iRacing, iRacing is a driving simulator. It is a simulation, and yes, there are two times on the bottom of the screen. I just realized that, so have fun figuring out which one's the real one. However, iRacing is a simulation, so it's not going to be like Forza, like Need for Speed, like Project Cars, stuff like that. Those games are more made for arcade racing. They're made to look good. They're made to appeal to a more casual audience and to sell. Basically, they are more of a arcade style racer. Sim racing is a little bit more different, as I accidentally bumped the wall there, and that is the fact that sim racing is more on the hands of basically creating an experience as close to actual racing as possible. This being with different types of tools, where there are laser scan tracks, meaning iRacing actually goes out, camera scans every single track that they put on the website, so that way every bump, every groove, every divot, every anything you can feel, you can see, and it would be exactly like you're driving in real life. And this is one of the main reasons why NASCAR, IMSA, Formula One, this is actually the first caution that we end up having because of that car that spun out, which you'll see a lot of those as we get further into the race. But anyways, back to before. Formula One, IMSA, GT3, Ferrari Cup, you name it, IndyCar, you name it, they are helping with both the tuning of the vehicles to make sure that the vehicles feel exactly how you're going to drive them, whether it be an IndyCar at Indianapolis, driving with all the downforce and the speed and the grip of an actual IndyCar or Formula One car, or whether it be the Monster Energy Cup Series where you're driving an actual NASCAR and you're driving around Talladega at 180 miles an hour. And that's what games like iRacing, which is this one, or Assetto Corsa, which is kind of like iRacing, but it looks a little nicer, but the laser scan tracks aren't as crisp, I guess, as you could say. However, the way that iRacing kind of works is you start in rookie class, and you move up through two sorts of systems. One is safety rating, and one is iRating, which is basically your placings. So the more that you keep your car clean, the more that you don't hit things like you saw when I hit that. At the top of the screen there was a 0x, there's an X system. And if you would rather me go into a more in-depth introduction to iRacing, I can definitely do that for you guys. So leave that in the comments if you want a full intro to iRacing and the way that it works. However, so iRacing is mainly there to get as close to a simulation as possible. And there have been many main drivers in multiple series that back iRacing as training, including Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart. They both used this way before it was popular, and they still continue to use it today. Dale Jr. used it before every race. He has advocated for it a lot, and a lot of even IndyCar drivers also use it and practice with it as well. Either way, we are going to be getting onto the green flag now. At this point, I believe we were in, because I believe I had my tires up just to keep an eye on them, but I believe we were in 12th or 13th at this point. We started in 15th, and basically Martinsville is one of those tracks, because this is a simulation. Yeah, this is where I went wide, but then everybody wrecked in front of me. So the 7 spins out there. He keeps it low, but caution ends up coming out. So as I said before, more cautions. This is where I realized that I had everyone in the game muted, but that's okay. So going through kind of the way that things are going, because C-Class is where you start actually getting cautions like this. C-Class is where you start getting into the a little bit better drivers, as you'll see towards the end of the race. D-Class and Rookie Class do not have cautions, because there are so many wrecks that the races would take forever and no one would actually get a chance to race, basically. So I wanted to wait till I got into C-Class to actually start posting videos, so that way it was actually going to be against racers and it wasn't just going to be a wreck fest, which seems to kind of be working. You're gonna have dickheads wherever you race. That's just how it works. However, for those of you who are interested in iRacing, it's actually fairly cheap to get into. If you have a gamepad, Xbox controller, basically, or like a Steam controller, and $7, you can buy a 1-month membership to iRacing, free trial, basically, for $7. I know, I just interrupted myself, or contradicted myself. And you basically get everything you need. You get the street stock cars, you get 2 tracks, Charlotte Motor Speedway and USA, which is a short track. And then you get some road courses as well. I went to the circle side because I'm awful at road courses, and that might just be a series in itself of me trying to get better at road courses. But you pretty much get enough to get out of rookie class. So if it's something that you want to try, but you're not necessarily sure if you want to continue with, you can basically pay $7 for membership. If you don't like it, that's it. $7 for $7 to try out a game for a month that gives enough detail to make you feel like you're actually racing a vehicle. I tend to see that as a pretty good bargain. Now, for me, I tried it, fell in love with it. Once you get into like the C-Class, Xbox controllers really isn't going to work for you, because the types of cars that you're driving ends up being a little too squiggly, as I call it, for a controller analog stick. Because these are cars that are made for a steering wheel, so I ended up buying myself a Logitech DriveForce GT steering wheel and a set of pedals, just so that way I could actually race how I wanted to race. I would have force feedback, so that way when I turn the wheel I can feel the grip. We can get into force feedback and an introduction video as well. However, we were about to get back to green flag racing, and so far I haven't pitted yet. The reason being is I knew that there would be more cautions. I knew I would have a better chance to pit. So at this point in time, for strategy purposes, I have not pit yet. We're having a little bit of frame rate issues, it appears, with the actual race. But so far, everything seems to be working a-okay. So as we're moving here, we end up coming through some of these turns. Our tires are starting to get a little slick just because of all the grinding. There go two more, and I believe we don't actually get a caution right there because of that. However, I come down here deep into this corner, and at this point I see that the 8 car behind me is very much hot on my tail because he's been diving in and deep. He pretty much did the whole race. So I was basically just trying to keep it down there and hold it. I'm getting a little loose into turn 2 and just trying to keep it low, basically hitting the brakes early to make sure that the person on the outside has the chance to get around me, because with iRacing, being curious is a main thing. And then the 8 spins me out. So he was getting a little pushy there. No big deal. As you can see, I got a 2x from that. So basically super quick. 0x is tap something. Most of the time 0x means it was because of internet. 2x means you hit a wall. 4x means you hit another car. 1x means you went off track or spun out. So at this point, we dropped from what I believe was around 8th or 9th to 14th because of the spin out. Once again, this is a simulator, and it's not like the old NASCAR games where when you wrecked, you got your spot back. So at this point, we are about 20 laps into the race. We're not really having to worry too much about fuel in these races because the laps are so long, or the laps are, there's not very many laps, so the race isn't so long. So fuel isn't really much of an issue in the C-class races. The B-class races is where you start getting into fuel mileage, but the C-class races is where you start to learn to take care of your tires. So we're pretty much going through here. We're on 14th. There's a lot of cars in the pits, so we're going to make up a lot of positions as we move on through, and it tells me to stay back behind the 12 cars. So here I kind of make a bit of a mistake. So as I'm pulling through here, as you can see, I was going a little fast. It didn't seem to catch me too much, but as I'm coming through here, you can see my speed. You want to make sure that you're staying below that. I'm trying to figure out which gear I want to be in while I'm here. Pull into the pit box perfectly fine. I've actually been doing pretty good with pulling into my pit box recently. But I make 2 mistakes here. The first one, I leave the fuel fill on after the car is done getting its tires, so a little extra time gets shoved off. Because right now I'm just trying to beat the pace car out, and you can see over there the relative time. They're coming. I mean, I'm gonna have a couple seconds right now. It's done. So I'm like, crap. So pull out in first, nail it in second. And as I try to get around, as you can see, I start to get a little fast leaving, and then I clip that blue cone. And because I was in there for so long, I ended up getting a closed pit. So because I was in there for so long, and because I ended up clipping that, and I wasn't out in time, I got a closed pit, so I had to get sent back to the back. So, at this point, it's telling me to let the pace car by, so I pull off to the side, let them go. And some of you may be thinking, well, this is kind of, that's kind of ridiculous. It's just, just let them go. So right now they're telling me pit lane is open, go to the inside line, let the 10 car by. So at this point I'm kind of confused. They black flagged me because I passed the pace car, and this is where I make the second mistake. And this just kind of shows you to keep your cool in some of these races. Now they're starting the race on the backside, and this is where I get lucky. So I popped that back down to the pits to serve my penalty. As I'm doing that, a caution comes out. I'm not sure where it came out. I probably should have looked at that. Bam. Caution comes out. So now, instead of possibly going 3 or 4 laps down because of my mistake, I got lucky. So, pop in. I immediately click off everything for the pits because I don't really need that. I'm just trying to serve my penalty and leave. And by this point, we can actually go ahead and skip ahead just a little bit. As I come back out, once again, trying to beat the leaders out. But because
they're showing us the black flag. Too fast on pit road. Go back to the tail of the
because I was serving a penalty, they make me go back to the back, so I end up losing that lap anyways. So right now, I'm 2 laps down with 25 laps left, or with probably about 30 laps left. And this is where it kind of gets interesting. So everybody goes by, except I end up getting the lucky dog because I'm in last because it was 2 laps down. So luckily, I make that lap back up immediately. So I get lucky, and this is where you can see some people are being dumb. They don't want to let people by. They're all just staying in line. So I have to kind of finagle my way through. We're going to go ahead and skip ahead as we get back to the front. There's the 8 car that actually spun me earlier. We will see that later. So at this point, we are halfway through the race. We are going to be catching back up to everybody, but they're going to tell me to go back, and we can actually go ahead and skip back to green flag racing. So here we are. We are currently in 15th technically, but that'll change here in a second. I believe we were in 14th at this point. Yeah, 14th at this point. Bunch of drivers go off to the outside there, so I just use that opportunity to get in front of them, because right now the strategy is get as far up as possible, so that way when another caution happens, because it's going to happen, we're in a position to where we can take another lap around and get our laps back. Because right now, what a lot of people would do is they try to force themselves through the field. They would wreck other people, your safety rating can go down, you could even get a banner suspension. Not good. So right now our job is to keep the car clean and just run some good laps. And the issue is, because of all the running around, which you'll start to notice as the laps go on, because you can see right there that little bit of a slide, my tires are shot. It won't show it on the gauge, but my tires are shot because I've been running around this track even after laps trying to catch up to pace cars and trying to pass people. So right now we got 22 laps left, and I am on no tires pretty much, trying to just keep in a spot to where I'm by people. And even though I'm a lap down, I'm in front of the 10th place car, but you can see I'm straight up drifting around these corners. You can't see the wheel because I took the wheel off, because I like to have the wheel that I'm looking at in front of me actually be the wheel. Sometimes having a giant wheel in front of your face can be distracting with having a second wheel. But we're running pretty good laps, and as you can see, we're just trying to stay there. One car dips down, and there we just save it. That could have been a 4X and probably could have done some nice damage to our front left, but I managed to slide off of that. And this is the point where I understand that I need tires bad. Like, I need tires really bad. You can see the temperature on the front rights. We're actually getting pretty high up there. So at this point, I've got a debate. Do we strategize and take another lap down to get tires, or do we go in early and then go further back? So what I do here is, I know I'm going to get my lap back, so I'm going to be technically on the lead lap. However, I'm going to be on the lead lap with 0 tires, so I'm not even going to be able to stick with everybody. So the good thing about C-Class is the fact that because there's cautions, you have the ability to always be in the race. So the strategy here was just, okay, let's get back into the race. As you can see, the red names that were on that list, which means I'm a lap down to them, now turn white, which means I'm now on the lead lap as them. The blue names mean that they are a lap down to me. So if a blue name is in front of me, they should move over. If I'm in front of a red name, I should move over for the common courtesy. However, as you can see again, I'm having to sprint around this track to get back into my position, blowing up my tires even more. So right now we are having an issue. So I decided just to stay out. I'm like, you know what, we're going to have another caution. So I'm just going to chill, try to keep it straight like that. That's really the only thing that I was thinking about. I end up getting held back again because I'm the lucky dog, so I get to go back, and we will go ahead and skip to, I believe, what would be the green flag.
About to go green.
Yep, so
Go high. Pace car is off.
here comes the green flag here. So the 7 who was in front of me was doing this all race too, as he was supposed to be on the outside for some of these restarts, and he would just stay on the inside. Granted, I didn't care because that right there, the 8 car, the 10, and then I believe it was also the 7 might have, or no, not the 7, the 5 might have also got into it. No, it was that 16 car that had no hood. So they get into it immediately. So this works out into my favor because now I'm on the lead lap and I can pit. And I'm basically banking on, at the minimum, one more caution. So this is one of the cool things about this game that it lets you do, because you're racing against other players, is you're basically doing pit strategy against all of these other players. And it's so much fun because it can work out in your favor or it can bite you. You never know. So as we're coming around here, the decision's got to be made. Do I... Because right now I'm in 10th. I am in the top 10. And what really sucks is I actually could have pit before if I would have just lagged up a little bit. But because I have to stay with the leaders, now I'm blowing more tires just trying to get around the track. So at this point, I do believe I go ahead and pit. Yeah, I'm one of the only people, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go a lap down again, either by wrecking because of all of the mess that's going on, or I'm just going to go ahead and pit and take that lap down. So this was a strategy I did. We'll see if it ended up paying off for you guys. I want to leave it to your guys' suspense. Because right now we're in a spot where, and this could be a learning experience for new people, because right now we're in a spot where we're on the lead lap, so we could have easily kept our tires and rode out a 13th, 14th spot because other people have wrecked out, and it would have ended up being okay. We gain a couple positions, probably would have lost some rating, but we gain a couple positions. And when you start in the back, it's really all you're looking for. So here's where I get... So this is where it gets interesting. So right now I'm a lap down again, but I'm a lap down on completely fresh tires. So as long as I can keep my car clean, one would think that I should be able to at least make something happen. So right now we're on the caution flag. They're wanting me to pass the 14. I think it's because I have to stay behind the 7. 7's a lap down now. And I believe he tries to do the same thing again. We'll go ahead and...
Next time by, you'll be lining up on the...
Yep, so here comes the green flag. I believe it's this one, yeah. So, on this green flag here, you'll notice he tries to do it again. He's a lap down. So is the 5. technically both of them should just be moving over for the people that are here, because I am a lap down, but they are a lap down to me. So I start on the inside here to force the 7 to go on the outside. So there is a little bit of a frame issue. Not exactly sure why. I might have to turn a couple settings down, but it normally smooths itself out. I don't see this during the game, by the way. So we go into this corner. The 7's on the outside. Everybody is going insane. The 11 clips the 7 because he made some crazy move. So right now, we're just hoping that we can get a hold of something. They're 3 wide up ahead of us. The 7 sliding everywhere. And then the 10 and the 17 collide. There's our caution. Now, we are 7 laps out. We're going to get the lucky dog, because we are the only car that's 1 lap down currently, which overly works in our favor. We're the only car 1 lap down. Everybody else is at least 2 laps down or more. So because we use that strategy, eventually it will kick in. I don't remember when it happened, but we will get the lucky dog, which then means we get our lap back. I believe it's right here. Yeah, because right now the 7 was doing that stuff the entire race, and then the 8 was also doing a bunch of crazy stuff too. So as we come through here,
we do have the free pass.
There's the free pass. We're going to get our lap back, and we will go ahead and skip to the green flag.
Because you're the lucky dog, you'll be.
So we start in the back, but we're on the green flag pace. We're in 12th. Anything that we could get
One to go. Next time by, line up on the inside.
above
2 more,
15th and on the lead lap was perfect for us. So the fact that we were where we were, I was perfectly okay with this. Currently in 12th. That's a +3 gain spot. And we're on the lead lap with fresh tires versus everybody else who's not on fresh tires. So at this point, it's going to be a 1-lap shootout, which are always fun, or what I like to call the Death Bowls, because everybody does crazy stuff, including myself. Why not? So as we're moving forward, white flag goes. We all floor it. The 10, or I think that might have been the 8, goes absolutely, no, it was a 10. Drives all the way in there, shoves everybody up the track, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go low. I'm going to try to get some positions, try to get this top 10. As I come down, you remember the 8 from earlier who was wrecking everybody, we kind of touch, which actually, I only got a ×1. But because of that wreck, I ended up getting 11th. I ended up shoving him out of the way. Now remember, he was the one that wrecked me earlier and tapped me and spun me out. So on one end, you could see that it was some kind of a revenge. On the other end, it's just something that happened. Because it was a 1x, and I believe I actually go back and take a look at that. So because it was a 1x, that means that the game didn't actually say that I hit him. They said it was just me going off track, meaning that it was an internet thing. It was just a connection netcode, basically. So I ended up getting 15th with an 11th place finish. I started 15th, finished in 11th. Here's that last lap, actually. So as we're coming through, we swing it around here. There's the 8 up top, 17's a little crunched up too. There are 3 wide already. I come down, I get a little loose, and he kind of gets a little loose too off that tap and spins and hits the wall. Granted, you can't really tell from that angle and whether I actually did hit him or not. But the 8 ended up finishing just below me. But we ended up finishing on 11th, so we got an 11th place finish. 3 incidences, which is really good. So we're going to get some safety rating out of that. I need a drink of water. So we're going to get some safety rating out of that. So the strategy technically paid off, and we did kind of get revenge on the guy that spun on us, even though it wasn't technically revenge because I wasn't attempting to spin him out. We all just kind of got bottled up. It's what's going to happen on a one-lap shootout at Martinsville. So looking through here, we end up looking at some of the actual I rating here. I'll just go and pause the video so we can take a look at this, and I'll do my own analysis. So we basically end up getting the 3 instances. Our I rating, which is a 1404, we get a +1, or it's 1403, now it's 1404. Safety rating, we get a plus 0.10, and that's going to go up to a 3.53 from a 3.43. And the crazy thing is the difference between us and that 8 was he ended up losing 21 I rating, which is I rating decides who you get to race with when the races do their splits. We can talk about that in another video. Safety rating determines what class you can get in, so we actually gained some class there. That was my 4th race, which means that I'm up for a promotion if when I continue my races. So that ends up being what I end up going through there. Hopefully in the future these kinds of videos are a little more put together, or they're at least a little more smoother. Like I said, this whole thing that we had up here was actually already ready to go, and the audio got muted. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, click the like button. If you want an introduction to iRating or iRacing and the way that it goes, or if you want more videos to where it's live commentary and not necessarily commentary afterwards, or vice versa, leave that in the comments. Let me know what you guys want to see. Obviously, we're going to be trying to stream more of these as well, all over on Twitch. And if you want to see more of these types of videos and continue to see some iRacing stuff, or even see if I decide to start getting into more of the road side of things, hit that subscribe button. And as always, I am Master RKO, and I will see you guys in the next one. Adios.